Well, my first reading experience, I'm not sure about that, but I know the first real good one was, of course, since I'm Swedish, Astrid Lindgren. Rasmus på luffen in Swedish, it's Rasmus der Landstreicher in German, I think. And I probably read this wonderful book at least twice a year for 5 years, I think. I almost knew it by heart. And it didn't change from one reading to the next. So, I mean, it's a young boy. He's got no parents. He's staying at a kind of institution. And for some reason, he has to run away to escape from this, because he's going to be beaten by the lady running this institution the next morning. He knows that, and he can't stand this. So he just walks out of this place, the only secure place in the whole world for him, Rasmus, just by chance. And then he walks away, not knowing what's going to happen to him. I think he's like 8, 9 years old. Terrific story. I mean, I'm that old. We didn't have television until around 1960, 61, and then I was 10, 11. And I can remember that I was a reader from very early on, and started reading crime fiction around the age of 13, 14, I think. Yeah, so I've been reading books my whole life. I think I started writing without thinking about it. I didn't plan it. I mean, I had no idea that I would become a writer until I had started writing, actually. And it happened by chance. I had a divorce, and I had 2 kids. And we had in Sweden what you call split custody. I mean, my wife took care of my former wife of the kids for 1 week, and then I took care of them the next week. And suddenly, when I had the free week, I realized that I had 7 nights free. And I thought, well, it's time to write a novel. It wasn't, but I mean, I started, and then I got like 40, 50 pages into it, and it was so interesting that I just couldn't stop it. But without the divorce, I would probably not have been a writer at all. So shit happens, and good shit too. I had no intention to become a crime writer from the beginning, but my second book, I had a story. I mean, I think it always starts with the story you want to tell, and in what way can you tell this story? And in this case, I had the first in the series of fun-damental, which is a story that can only be told as a crime story. I realized that I want to tell this story, and that's how I got into crime fiction. And at that time, there was no such thing as a Swedish krimiboom or the Nordic noir. I mean, Henning Mankell and myself, we started basically at the same time. I think his first book in the Wallander series was out in 92, and mine first in 93. So it wasn't that boom it's been a wave or a tsunami of Scandinavian crime fiction for the last 15, 20 years almost. But I came into it just by chance, because the story needed the structure of a crime novel. Well, first of all, I think that if you divide crime literature into good writing and bad writing, then I think that, let's say, 75% of the crime stories are lousy. They are not worth reading, which is a problem, of course. But if you take the good 25%, then crime literature has of course it has a function, because, I mean, if you look at a bestseller list, I mean, sometimes 9 out of 10 books are crime fiction, which is a bit sad, really. But the good crime fiction is, there are so many points in crime fiction that for the reader and for the writer where you can do so much more than just tell a good story. You need to tell a good story, and a good story, it's a story which starts with some question marks that you probably make exclamation marks or at least full stops towards the end. And whatever you do, never bore your readers. That's a good story. But then while you're telling the good story, you can do so many other things. You can be like Arne Dahl, or like Henning Mankell, like Stieg Larsson. You can be political. You're into social questions. And I am not. I mean, I'm more like a psychological, perhaps philosophical writer. But still, you can you can do so many things while you're telling your good story. And this is the strength of the crime literature, that you can read a good story and you get something more than just a good story while you're reading it. Well, of course, you can't avoid society, but perhaps you don't need to write it in block letters all the time, because I mean, I think that whatever you're up to, whatever your story is, it's always put in one society or the other. And if it's contemporary, reasonably contemporary, it's this society. And if you write about people, you will write about the problems that people in this society face. So whether you're a political writer or a non-political writer, you can't avoid the social aspect of your stories, of course not. I'm not sure about the purpose of my book. When I started, I realized there is a purpose, but I mean, it's such a vague purpose. It's like condition humaine. You want to describe why are we here, why do we do the bad deeds that we don't want to do, why are we evil, we want to be good, etc. Why do the good guys commit bad? They do bad things, and why is this? So this, but I mean, this is the basic existentialistic questions about why we are here on Earth whatsoever. And I think whatever I'm up to, I think that these questions, since you enter the heads of your protagonist or the characters in your book, and they think about things, and in a crime novel, death is always present. So, and when death is there, you see your life very clearly in a way. You put the fundamental questions: what is important, what is not important, and it's very easy to make characters in the book start thinking about the real fundamental questions. That's one of the strengths of crime fiction, I think.